Coming up in this video, why we need stress in our lives and why it's essential for us to grow and be strong. Hey everybody, it's Kalymnios from thethoughtgym.com here helping you become your superhuman self. And in this video, I want to talk about stress. There's a lot about stress and trying to release stress and get rid of stress. And that can be a good thing, but there's always two sides to a story, no matter how thin you slice it, as one of my virtual mentors, Tony Robbins, used to say, or probably still does say. And I want to talk about the flip side of stress today, and actually why we do need it. There's not such a good thing as a good or bad stress. I guess it's really how you perceive the environment or the thing that's in front of you, whether you determine whether it's good or bad. But I want to share with you a little story that I heard about a year ago, and it's about this experiment that was done called Biosphere 2. This was an experiment where they created effectively like an artificial landscape underneath a big dome to see, I think it was to mimic whether we could be self-sufficient and maybe colonize Mars or wherever it might be. And so they created this big dome, a huge dome, and they put like lots of scientists in it to live there and just use nothing from the outside world. And what was really interesting is they had trees there naturally trying to grow. Now these trees did in fact grow. They grew quicker than they did outside of the sphere. But what was really interesting is that they also didn't support themselves, and they fell and they collapsed a lot of the time. And eventually, once they determined what was going on, the scientists running Biosphere 2 recognized that it was because there was no wind in Biosphere 2. And it was the wind that was creating this resistance and this stress on the trees that creates this thing called stress wood. And it's this stress wood that actually supports the structure and being able to overcome any other difficulties and support its own weight. And I always look to nature when it comes to my teachings. Nature and babies tend to be my big teachers and my own intuition. And then I corroborate things with other science and experts. But if I look at nature, it's telling us something there. The wind is the stress. Okay? In order for that tree to grow and be strong, you need to stress it. We do need stresses in our lives in order to become stronger and grow. It's obvious when you look at something like working out. The only way that the muscle grows is through stress, where you're lifting weights that effectively the muscles there can't quite do yet. And by lifting them, it effectively does these little micro tears in the muscle, builds back stronger, effectively our version of stress would. And when it comes to emotional as well, it's the same thing. We do need some stresses in our lives in order to help us grow. Of course, there has to be a balance between what is going to be too much to like collapse the tree when it's still growing versus when it's stronger. Obviously, a small tree, the big gust of wind that comes could uproot it. By the time it's become a big, strong tree and it's had lots and lots of years of practice with micro stresses, the big gust comes and it's still going to stay in place. It's the same thing with our emotions, our physicality as well. We need to do things gradually, build up these stressful times, these stressful events, these stressful physical challenges so that we can become stronger. So stress isn't good or bad per se. There may be good versions of stress as you perceive it and bad versions of stress as you perceive it, but we do need stress in our lives. We just need to be able to manage it, and it needs to be the right amount for us in that current period of our lives. So I hope that makes sense. You can check out the story about Biosphere 2 for yourself. I found it was really interesting. Until next time, please remember to share, like, and subscribe, of course, to this channel. And I look forward to hearing from you really, really soon. Please remember, stay strong, stay super. Bye-bye.